It's from Telemark, which is about a 3-hour drive west of Oslo on the way to Bergen.
Oh.
And the three main things that are kind of the evolution of the next stop we're going to, and showcasing the beautifulness of importation, is actually the cement roof tiles, or the ceramic roof tiles, the cement that is utilized for the chimney, as well as the glass utilized for the windows. And those three elements are all imported from different places in Europe. Here you can also tell by the beautiful lofted technique, where you put one piece of lumber on top of each other. It braids into the corners and then it's chopped away to make sure the length is equal from each log. And this house right here is taken from a disgustingly wealthy family. They had too much money for their own sake. It's basically the story of this farm, or this house right here, is actually, it was built for a wedding between two families coming together. And the main family had their money and their wealth in lumber, so they could just build houses basically for free and use the rest of their wealth to import beautiful, extravagant and exclusive items. And not in this house particularly, but another one that is from the same era, also from the same 1700s. It's showcased that those windows were imported from Amsterdam, from the biggest company ever on this earth. It's bigger than Google, Facebook, and Windows together. So, and with that, they are actually estimated to be about 2 to 3 times the wealth of the whole house themselves, is what the windows are worth. So it was no joke having windows. And the big kind of folk tale we have about the owner is that the owner was so skeptical of anything happening to his windows that he would take them down and take them with him when he wasn't on the property. Not just in the house, on the property. So he was very skeptical of anything happening to them. With that set in mind, we will squeeze together. You'll have to help yourselves and each other at squeezing together so we all can fit in this house. There are benches along the wall, so I'm sorry, but it's kind of the first ones in that get to sit and the rest will have to stand. But you will all see it, so. So there are benches along behind the table. If you can sit there first. Behind the table first, so we can squeeze in there. Okay. Hopefully. And with that, welcome to the guest house. This is the party house, people. Yes. And usually during the higher seasons, during the summertime, or kind of spring going into summer and summer going into autumn, we have these houses open with people in beautiful costumes, as well as people playing instruments or singing or dancing, traditional folk tales and folk songs, as well as other things. Yeah, you cannot sit on that one, I'm sorry. And I'm terribly sorry, but I cannot sing anything. I can sing, but I cannot sing folk music, not Norwegian at least. But this house was, again, built for a wedding. What you're seeing right here is actually many ties towards the church.
So daghan pa kay siya gi-istorya sa amo ang mga mix, no? Pero to make the video short, kay daghan pa kay mig i-visit. So morning ako nang gikat dayon, naganhin na pod mi diri sa ilahang farm. Mo ni karon nga nang gibaklay mi kay padulong mi didto. Unya mo ni ako mga classmate kay international student man mi, so lahi ako mga classmate dire mga amigs, no. So mo ni karon na amis kay mi kay ilahang balay o naglukdoong ilahang balay o kanang mga yuta. O diba? Unya mga old houses nila. So mo ni nga maminaw na pud ta sa iyahan na pong ipang istorya.
Welcome to Setesdal. This is a farm on a row, and you are wondering probably why is it called that? And easily, it's a farm on a row because we have houses on a row. That's as easy as it gets. We have two other kind of significant kind of building techniques for different farms that are very traditional for Norway. And the first one is a farm on a row, being one row of houses. The one behind you guys is actually designated for the houses of the animals, and the houses behind me and the ones you are looking at are the houses for the humans. And with that, the two other ones we have, for example, the farm next to this one, which is called Numedal, is a farm, a cluster farm, where you have houses sporadically placed in different places on the farm, kind of just put where they're fitting the best. And the last one is a farm on a square, where you have the houses aligned as a square, and then you have an open area in the middle. And those are kind of the three referring styles we have of farms traditionally to Norway. But this farm right here is actually composed of two different farms. So if I stand right here, to my right and to your left is one farm, and to my left and your right is another farm. But since they are from the same area, being Setesdal, about a 2.5-hour drive southwest of Oslo, I swear it's not me, southwest of Oslo on the way to Kristiansand, is a valley area beautifully designed where these houses are from. So if you can just imagine a mountainside behind these houses right here, we're good. And this other part of why we can showcase them is because they're from the same era, which is the 1600s. So welcome to the 1600s. Do you like it here? And the house that I'm standing in front of is a loft, and the word comes from the word lift, meaning that it lifts from one story to a second one. And it kind of curves upwards on the second floor, and it doesn't mean that the second floor is bigger than the first one. It just has a walkway around the whole second floor that insulates the house. So kind of like the stave church had that walkway around the building itself, this one has the same thing. So if you, for example, know temples from Greece or from the ancient times, from ancient Rome, you can see those temples have walkways that are not inside, but they're not outside. That's kind of the same thing right here. So the whole second floor itself is the same size as the first one, but it just is isolated extra. And that is mainly because on the first floor you would have textile and handwork storage, and on the second floor you would have bedrooms, usually dedicated for the women help of the house, because they would work with this, so it's easier if they just live with their work, because that's healthy. And what we can see actually right here is the size of the lumber is huge. It's about three times the size of the ones used at the barn, which is the lowest roof, which is very small compared to this one. The other thing is that it is oval shaped, not because the trees grow this way. We just cut away the belly portion of it, so we get the height of it, but not the width of it, so it doesn't take as much space inside the house. And this is a prime example of the plague that hit Europe and came to Norway in the beginning of the 1300s, killing half the population. And that disease killed half the population, so if your neighbors died on the farm and nobody was left, you could just move in and take over. And because of this, people didn't build houses during many hundreds of years. And since nobody built houses, when the population grew again and we needed more buildings, we noticed that the forest was big and strong. Again, unfortunately, only the wealthiest of people could buy the biggest sizes of wood. This showcases that this is a very wealthy farm. And this is also kind of to show not only do we have historical sources that are written, but we actually have material sources you can touch, you can smell, you can see. I don't know what else you would do to them, but probably don't. And on the front panels right here, you can see that there are beautiful decorated kind of engravements. And this is, what do you think it looks like? Rope? Yeah,
Curtain.
that's also what I thought, like rope knots and other things. But they're actually traditional knitting patterns that would be utilized in textiles, especially from Setesdal. And the beautiful metalwork as well as the hefty door with the engravement is actually a warning symbol to kind of ward off evil spirits, as well as the metalwork. The design of it is supposed to showcase that as well. And often the engravements you can see are dates as well as other kind of safe words to engrave into your home to make sure that you would protect it. And with that being said, we have many different houses right here. And I'm sorry, it's coming to an end and I kind of have to leave you guys soon. But we have different houses that you are, of course, free to look inside of. And one of them, for example, the farm or the barn itself right there, you can probably tell that it has a little roof, and the roof itself is made out of turf. And the turf roofs are very traditional towards Norway and other kind of Scandinavian countries. But they are very economic and very ecologic as well, mainly because they insulate the houses incredible, as well as they make them waterproof.
Yeah.
So you have between 7 different layers of birch bark on top of each other, and since you can probably tell on the corners that it curls up when it gets moisture, to make sure you don't have a bumpy roof, you weigh it down. So you would either have a small layer of pebbles or stone or sand, and then you would have one patch of grass, flip it upside down, the grass is down, the roots are up. Then you put another piece on top of that with the roots down and the grass up to make sure it stays growing. And the saying is, again, with the lifespan of a man, 30 to 35 years is the average. You would change the roofs 2 times during your life. Once with your father and once with your son.
No.
And inside of there, you can actually see wooden figurines of cows and how big they were supposed to be during the 1600s, being very much smaller than today. And that is of 2 main reasons, being malnutrition. The food would usually go to the humans instead of the animals if it was a horrible winter. And multiple times we have sources of animals not making it through until the springtime when they are let out again into the wild or into the green. And with that being said, many would die during that time not making it. And the ones that made it were like this thin, shriveled, and very sick. So they wouldn't grow that big, as well as they would only need to feed the people at the farm, established being between 13 to 20 people. So they didn't get that big because we didn't need them to be that big. The other houses we have is this house right here. It actually showcases a funeral, mainly because it sounds now that I say it, but it actually shows a party, because at this time, do you believe in ghosts? Yeah? Okay. And during this time, you would actually be horrified of ghosts, because if you were sad when somebody passed away, they would haunt you and stay with you after they were done, they died. They would stay with you to make sure you were okay. And when you finally got over it, they would linger because they would be pissed off that you weren't sad anymore. And they would mess around at your farm. So we have a lot of written sources as well as stories of people telling that, oh, my grandfather who was the chief of this and that work, he came around and messed around and told me that I didn't do the job good enough. And because of that, the bigger the party and the happier you were, the less ghosts you would have. So that is actually what we showcase right there. You can hear music and see people dancing and cheering, and that is kind of the one takeaway we should probably have, that we should celebrate the life instead of celebrate, or kind of linger with the lost. The last house that we have is the main house of the farm, and this is the fire pit house. So you can look inside and probably tell the difference from the extravagant home we were just inside, compared to this one right here. The funny thing about this house is that it's actually built in 1650, but the right side of it, from the entrance and the extra room on the right, is actually built upon in the 1700s, so 50 years later. And that is mainly because, as you do today, if you want to, if you have the money to, or if you need to, you can expand upon your home. So it's actually not that modern. And we humans have been doing the same things throughout multiple centuries.
So, curiosity kills man lagi ang Meg. So, morning ni tanaw gyud ko diri no sa ilahang funeral di ay daw ni nila atong 1600. So, mo na diha nga nailungon unya napoy mga tawo. Gi-preserve yun nila mga Meg. So, mo ni siya ang atong mga old days. Mo ni among gianhian. And very informative kay siya mga Megs. So mo to nga happy kay ko nga nakasaksi ko, nakaapil ko ani, char. And that's it. This is Yumi Yoms. Thanks for watching.